thing about it, a king don't chase a peasant. King chase kings. I want Joshua.
Down to right forever winning. Wilder, let's go, baby! Let's go!
Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news!
Okay, we'll start with this. Stephan Espinoza had this to say. He said, let's get back to making the biggest fights for Wilder. And initially, when I saw this quote, when I saw this headline, I didn't even want to touch it. A couple of passing thoughts went through my mind, but I didn't want to touch it because this is still a fight that has shown no progress. I mean, there's literally no progress. We are no closer to this fight happening now than we were a week ago or a month ago. It's still more or less at a standstill. Both sides want very different things, and both sides view themselves in very different ways. And if both of those sides can't find some kind of a middle ground, then the fight don't come off. It's really that simple. It's up to you to decide, who do you think is being unreasonable? And that, the answer to that question, it varies greatly from person to person. If you ask me, and you guys already know what I'm going to say, I think that Wilder is being very unreasonable, but he's being unreasonable because the work itself to make Deontay Wilder what they're trying to make him out to be now, the work wasn't done before so that he would be in a power position hereafter. It wasn't done before. Wilder has so many more professional fights than Anthony Joshua. He's been around for years. Before Anthony Joshua even went pro, Deontay Wilder was still around. But throughout all of those different fights that Wilder's had over the years, the work simply wasn't done to get this man acquainted with the American public so that they can thereby get behind him. I mean, it's only in 2015 that people really started taking notice. Oh, I know that there are a couple of outliers there, that they'll say that they've been following Deontay Wilder's career for the longest time, but guess what? You don't represent the average person that watches boxing, and you don't represent the average boxing fan. So even if that's true in your case, that does not apply across the board. People only started taking notice of Deontay Wilder at around 2015, somewhere around there. Coincidentally, that's not long after Anthony Joshua started getting attention of his own that was reaching people here in the United States. In his own backyard throughout those Olympic Games, they already knew what he was, but he had reached a level of celebrity by 2015 that people over here started hearing about this guy. Now in 2015, by that time, Deontay Wilder had already been a professional boxer for 7 years. Just about. Approximately 7 years.
Okay.
Whereas Anthony Joshua today has only been a pro for 6 years. From the time he debuted in 2013 till today in 2019. Anthony Joshua has only been a professional boxer for 6 years. But cross-compare where he is now in his 6th year to where Deontay Wilder was in 2015 in his 7th year. And the differences are night and day in terms of where are you in your career? What is your marquee value like? Can you sell a fight? Do you have hometown backing? I mean, the differences between these two fighters relative to each other is night and day. That Anthony Joshua is miles ahead of where Deontay Wilder was in his 6th year as a professional. I mean, if we look at what Wilder was doing in his 6th year as a professional, he wasn't even a world champion yet. He wasn't selling the kind of venues and having the kind of fights that Anthony Joshua is having today. Anthony Joshua was a unified champion in his 6th year as a pro, whereas Wilder wasn't a champion at all. Wilder wasn't packing out the kind of venues like Wembley, Madison Square Garden, the O2 Arena, those kinds of places. Wilder wasn't playing those kinds of venues, but Anthony Joshua already is in his 6th year as a pro. That's saying that in Anthony Joshua's 6th year as a pro, he is light years ahead of where Wilder was. And that denotes what's going on. That is the explanation. That what Wilder is doing now is playing catch-up with a guy that literally got here after him. Wilder had the head start. You debuted as a professional in 2008. Anthony Joshua didn't roll around till 2013.
I'm lying.
You look at when these guys became world champions. The difference between them is only a year, yet Wilder had far more fights than Joshua.
He had a head start.
But it's only really a year apart. They're world championship fights. The fights that made them champions. The Stiverne fight for Wilder and the Charles Martin fight for Joshua, those fights are only a year apart. Yet Wilder had a head start. You got here first. You've been a professional much longer. Wilder was around for the Vitaly Klitschko era for at least 4 years. from the time that Wilder debuted as a professional to the time Vitaly retired, Wilder was around for 4 years.
Already had 25 fights.
He was around for the Klitschko era, but somehow he never got around to fighting that guy either. So what we're seeing is that the work for Wilder was not done then to put him in a power position now. And it's for this reason that he's playing catch-up. And it's for this reason that Stephan Espinoza and Wilder's team are still trying to build this guy up like he hasn't been around since 2008. I mean, it's been about 10 years, hasn't it? But they're still trying to build this guy up like he got here 3 or 4 years ago. And it's because the work wasn't done already. You know, I saw some very recent comments from Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola, who just so happens to be a common opponent for both Deontay Wilder and Vitaly Klitschko. He fought them both. And they asked him, who does he think would have won that fight had those two guys fought? And Chris Arreola didn't make any bones about it. He said he felt that Vitaly would have annihilated Wilder. That he wasn't just a rough and tough fighter, he was a different kind of animal, a different kind of beast. That he was a smart fighter. And it's just funny hearing Chris Arreola say these things and then looking back and realizing that before Vitaly Klitschko called it a career, Deontay Wilder had something like 25, 26 fights. Now just imagine what that could have done. What it could have done for Wilder's career, where he would be right now, here today, had he fought Vitaly and beat him yesterday.
Beat him?
Just imagine where he'd be right now. I mean, needless to say, he would have racked up quite a few title defenses from that time until now. From 2012 to where Vitaly, you know, called it a career, whatever. You know, just imagine. But he never fought that guy.
How odd.
And that's the kind of work that I'm talking about. Those are the kinds of fights that I'm talking about. That the work was not done yesterday to put Wilder in a power position today. You've been a pro since 2008. You never fought a Derek Chisora, Kubrat Pulev, a Robert Helenius, a Samuel Peter, a fucking Mike Perez. Povetkin was floating around all those years. You didn't fight him then, and you haven't fought him now. And we know why. I mean, I'm not even faulting Wilder for that, but essentially what I'm getting at is there were a lot of names floating around between 2008 and now that you would have thought Wilder would have squared off against. The kind of names that would have helped him along, would have helped put him in a power position. That, okay, let's say you didn't fight for a title until 2015. Let's give you that one. But you did fight these other guys. And these other guys, they are world-level guys. They were in the conversation. But you never fought any of them. You didn't really start fighting interesting people until... And really, those people weren't even that interesting. Not in the beginning. I mean, for a lot of guys, it feels like things didn't actually get interesting for Wilder till he fought Luis Ortiz. I mean, yeah, Bermane Stiverne was the WBC champion, but how long was his reign? 10 seconds. You lost the title immediately after you won it, so, you know, it is what it is. It feels like Wilder didn't fight interesting people until recent memory. But recent memory, okay, we're in 2019, so you haven't fought interesting people for the better portion of, what, 10, 11 years? And you're wondering why this guy is playing catch-up with Anthony Joshua? You're wondering why, at this stage, at 40-something professional fights, they're still playing catch-up and trying to build this guy like he just turned pro? I mean, you don't have to wonder. The history and the writing, it's all on the wall.
Read it!
It's for this reason that these demands from Wilder, it's for this reason that they seem unreasonable to me. I mean, I know that there are people out there that can listen to all those facts and fact-check those facts themselves and still try to disagree. I know that there are those kinds of people. I understand that. They view Wilder as being something more than what he is or something that he is not. But I'm just looking at two boxers and cross-comparing their careers. And what I see is that Wilder's in no position to ask for what he's asking for. And the networks and the people that are behind him, they're only trying to build him up now because...
They haven't already.
I guess a lot of people didn't do their job before. Guy with 40-something professional fights having to be built up now? Give me a fucking break. You guys seen the reports that are floating around right now in regards to the ticket sales for Anthony Joshua's upcoming fight, for Deontay Wilder's upcoming fight, right here in the US of A? Have you guys seen the reports that are floating around? That Anthony Joshua's tickets are moving faster than Wilder's? Even though his fight is actually, you know, the tickets for Joshua's fight are actually more expensive than the tickets for Wilder's fight. Yet they're moving faster. And this is the guy that Deontay Wilder feels should give him 50%. A guy who can move tickets faster, that are more expensive, currently holds more world titles, has played bigger venues overall, is more well-known globally. In terms of earning power, is clearly the A-side, but this is the guy that Wilder feels should give him 50%.
You on drugs? Yeah, hard one.
I'll tell you something. There's two ways you interpret something like that. I mean, you're asking for 50%. You could be asking for 50% because you know they're not going to give you that. But in asking for it, you effectively stall the fight. You buy yourself time to continue to build your profile. This is what I told you guys last year that they were doing, and it appears that time has proven me right. That if you ask for something that you're not likely to get, you know they're not going to give it to you, that gives you an excuse to walk away. And in walking away, you buy yourself more time to build your profile, and that's what it appears they're doing. I mean, that's what you can deduce from Stefan Espinosa's recent set of comments. He's saying, let's get back to getting the big fights for Wilder. But Wilder just walked away from a big fight. And the other one, the only other fight that's comparable, that's not on the table either because of the side of the street that guy's on. That guy's on the ESPN side of the street. So when you say, let's get back to building big fights for Deontay Wilder, it gives me the impression that you're not even talking about Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. You're not talking about those guys. Whoever you're talking about, it can't be them. Because things with Fury already fizzled out, and you guys are actually the ones that walked away from the Joshua fight. So what they intend to do is to further build Deontay Wilder's profile in the hopes that they can catch up today to where Anthony Joshua is. That's what the hope is. And as far as Wilder's fans, I'll tell you right now they don't want to see that fight. It's too much on the line. It's been built up too much. For them, for the people on the other side of the argument, it's been built up too much. Too many things have been said. Too many videos have been made. Too many goalposts have been moved. I mean, I know these guys have got to have back problems by now. How many times they got to pick up that goalpost and fucking move it? They don't want to see that fight. They don't want to see that fight more than they want Wilder to get his way. Even if his way is unreasonable, unprecedented, even if what he wants is something that he doesn't actually deserve, and you wouldn't expect anybody else in Anthony Joshua's position to give up that much leverage to a guy like Wilder. You wouldn't ask anybody else to do that shit. Somebody that got 3 world titles, they make way more money. You wouldn't expect somebody in that position to give up 50% to some guy just because he asked for it. But in the case of Wilder, that's what they're doing. So for that reason, they don't want to see that fight more than they want Wilder to get his way.
They don't want to see that fight.
So if he's going to stall, they're going to support him. They're willing to support him because they don't want to see that fight. They don't want to find out. So they'll endorse the fuckery. They'll endorse the fuckery. They'll move the goalposts. They'll say hypocritical shit, change the argument, omit information, omit facts, give you fake news, all types of shit. Because they don't want to see that fight. They don't want to see that fight more than they want Wilder to get his way. And if he can't get his way, then they're willing to sacrifice the fight. Why? Because they're not fucking boxing fans. These guys are trying to make Wilder out to be a fucking civil rights leader. Alright? They look at this guy, they see something else. They don't see a boxer. They see something else.
They're deluded.
They're not boxing fans. In the same breath, they'll tell you,
I ain't worried about another man's pocket.
in that same breath, they'll tell you that and start arguing in favor of Deontay Wilder's pockets. Like I said, these guys are deluded. These guys are not boxing fans. The fake news media, those guys, anybody that goes to those guys for information is not playing with a full deck. Because those guys have been proven liars time and time again by several independent boxing channels like myself. Okay? So those guys are no source for information. Whatever you're getting from them is purely anecdotal, because in the realm of information and facts, that is not their strong suit, and that is not what they are attempting to deliver. What they are attempting to deliver is propaganda. They want to help Wilder become a big star. That is literally what their aim is, and they confess that on several of their videos. When me as a fight fan, all I want to see is a fight. I see what you make, I see what he makes, I see what he offered you, and I think that's reasonable. Given historical precedences and what you guys pull in on your own, it makes sense. So me as a boxing fan, I say, yeah, that seems like a reasonable environment to make a fight. They offered this guy $100 million, right? $20 million for Brazil, $80 million for Joshua. Lennox Lewis himself, who takes time out of his day on a regular basis to hate on Anthony Joshua, but Lennox Lewis himself was asked if he would have took that money for that fight. And even he said, if it was me, I'd have took it. But Wilder didn't take it, and his fans aren't going to hold him accountable for it, because his fans are just as deluded as he is. That's why he appeals to them. Birds of a feather flock together. If you're deluded, self-entitled, you're a crybaby, you're temperamental, emotionally unstable, and you're not actually accustomed to making any kind of sense when you open your mouth, odds are you're gonna like the shit that Wilder does. That shit is gonna be appealing to you. When me, look, I'm just a boxing fan. I just want to see the titles get unified. I haven't strayed away from the course of I want to see the best fighting the best, and I want to see an environment where that is made possible in all weight classes. I haven't gotten away from that. I want to see one guy holding all the belts as many times as possible because that effectively proves that he is the best. There are no stones left unturned. But these guys don't really want to see that. What they want to see is Wilder get his way, and if he can't get it, then they're willing to wait. They're willing to sacrifice the fight. And Wilder, I'll tell you something. I said it before, I'll say it again. This guy's had a couple of breaks on that same arm over the years, and those breaks haven't been far apart either. 7 surgeries to the same arm on a guy who's, what, 34? He's knocking on the door, man, you know. Prime years don't last forever, man. That's reality. He thinks he can wait, and they do too.
You know what's funny about Showtime? It's weird to me that after this DAZN deal, that Showtime now could pay Wilder $20 million.
When couldn't they? When couldn't they? Let me know when they filed for bankruptcy. The fuck are you talking about? When couldn't they? Explain to me one time they could not afford it, please. Please.
So why the fuck weren't they paying him that before?
Because the market didn't fucking demand it. When you got
but he's more valuable to them, and clearly they're showing that now.
I'm letting you finish your sentence, but you know that you're beyond your time.
Some of these guys cut it.
Listen, he's beyond his time anyway, and the point is this: why the fuck with Showtime? You guys don't understand. It's like I told Akon, put yourself in Espinoza's position. Why is Showtime going to be paying Deontay Wilder $20 million? If the market didn't indicate that.
Why would Showtime put up $20 million for a fight that's not going to make $20 million?
Anybody?
I mean, the idea behind putting up that kind of money is that you're going to get a little bit more than that back, that you're looking to turn over a profit. You're not just putting it up to get it back. You're putting it up because you're expecting to get back more than what you're putting up. So if you believe that Showtime put up $20 million for Wilder to fight Dominic Breazeale, you'd have to then be saying that Showtime is expecting to get back more than that. Is the Dominic Breazeale fight a $20 million fight? I mean, shit, you putting that fight right there in the realm of the Fury fight. The Fury fight made approximately $24 million on pay-per-view. 325,000 buys multiplied by $75 a buy is roughly $24 million. According to you, the Breazeale fight would have to be somewhere in the realm of that for Showtime to justify putting up that kind of money for that fight.
For Breazeale.
And to match who? DAZN's offer. I don't even doubt that Showtime has $20 million lying around. What I do doubt is that they put that amount of money up for that fight.
So just the act of them having it doesn't mean that they would fritter it away on that, with no assurances that they could even get their money back, because that's not even a $20 million fight. We all know that. It's just Wilder's fans that don't.
You really can't even be surprised anymore at the shit that comes out of these guys' mouths, man.